Hello people of internet. This video is about a funny feeling I have about Agentic AI. Now it might sound weird, the whole video, and I might sound like a weirdo, which is fair enough. But my last few projects, I was using Agentic AI, and I got a funny feeling about this. Which is a good feeling. It's not. Don't get me wrong, but in the same time, it's weird, and I'll jump straight to it. So, just to give a little bit of background, in my career as an engineer, I worked in some positions alone, especially when I set up my first company, basically a startup. So I was alone. I didn't work with other engineers elbow to elbow. I wasn't even an engineer. I was actually a student. So I was like half of the period I was a student, then I become an engineer. But what I'm trying to say, I was alone, on my own. So nobody that I could talk with or exchange opinions and things like that. Internet wasn't developed like it's today, so there wasn't much communication between people to people. Then I worked in large corporation, like some of us, in semiconductor industry, in FPGA. So I had colleagues, and I really liked that because it was a big change. It was a step change. So I had colleagues, and they were all clever, and we could exchange ideas, and we could progress things very fast, and everything was great. And then I switched jobs, and I worked with smaller groups, bigger groups, and I figured out, okay, how to work in smaller groups, bigger groups. But it was all good experience. This is what I'm trying to say. So after I left one of those jobs and I focused mainly on my own company, I was alone again. So on my own, pretty much the sole engineer here, I was taking decisions on my own. Then it was a period when I got hired. I was actually a contractor for a very large semiconductor company, but I had to go there, so I was working in a very nice group. It was a research lab. So there are mathematicians, physicists, programmers, hardware people. There were a bunch of nice guys with very good skills, and it was fantastic. It was the kind of atmosphere like it was in the Mythbusters. So we were trying things, and we were working on very hush things like Skunk Works, and we filed patents and all that. So anyway, great period, and then. Again, I switched to working alone, and pandemic came. We got a little bit isolated and all this. So again, I started regretting working in groups. Now, that's the baseline. Now, coming back to the main subject, Agentic AI, and the funny feeling. So I kind of missed that, synergy, or where you exchange ideas, and one of your colleagues say, "Oh, that's a stupid idea, but let's give it a go. Let's try it," and you figure out and you iterate, and then you come back and you change that, and you do all this. So I kind of missed that, but now working with Agentic AI, I kind of got back that feeling. So to see all those agents making things, coming with solution to the problems, presenting the rationale of those solutions, and you may agree and not agree, and you tell the AI, "Oh, you should do this," or "I don't think it's going to work. Let's try this and try that." So what I'm trying to say here. On the past few projects, and don't get me wrong, I understand this is a machine, they are not people, right? So I'm not crazy. But I got back that feeling that I'm actually working in a team of clever people. We were not agreeing all the time. So just to give a snapshot, I was working on something that the AI came with a solution, and it wasn't looking optimal, like the optimal solution. I said, "Look, I don't think it's optimal. I would love to do this instead." But I said, "You know what? I gave up." I said, "Well, let's go ahead and do your thing." And we got that implemented. It wasn't great. It was kind of half working. And then after a night of sleep, I said, "Okay, let's try my solution now." And my solution wasn't 100%. But somehow we managed to take what was good on AI solution and what was good on my solution, combine them together, and we got a pretty good solution. So we took what was best from the both, and it actually worked flawlessly. And now I was thinking back, if this was about to happen between people, probably it was a 6-month argument between engineers, endless meeting, feelings about things, and AI doesn't have feelings. Look, I understand it's a machine, but it was straight to the point. Let's do this, let's do that. We iterate very, very fast. So it was like a super team. Again, I'm not crazy. I understand they're not people. So, but overall, I think the outcome was great, and the feeling wasn't bad. It was like I was surrounded by clever people. So I'm not sure if other engineers, they feel this way. I might be the weirdo. But look, that's the way it is. I think there is an outcome of this. I think some people, they will feel okay more than others. Okay, a second thought, again, a bit. This is not weird. This is more technical. So FPGA, because we are on an FPGA channel. I think FPGA, they become so complex that if you want to make a product out of a complex FPGA, and I'm not talking about AI kind of FPGA, I'm talking regular FPGAs. If you want to make a product, let's take an example. So you have an FPGA and you have a PCI Express and you have Ethernet and you have maybe a soft processor or maybe a hard processor, an ARM. So you need a bunch of engineers which are all, they have skills in those areas, because you can say, oh yeah, I have an engineer which knows everything. He knows PCI Express, he knows software, maybe there are engineers out there which they can do all that, but they are not better than a guy who knows PCI Express inside out. Better than a guy who knows embedded software and processor and SoCs and things like that. So because of that and that kind of complexity, to put together a team to make a product, you need 6 engineers, 5 engineers, all specialized. Those guys, they're expensive. I think with Agentic AI, you can actually build those products. Maybe not as flawless as having those engineers on site, but probably cheaper and faster. Because let's say you have an idea for a great product. Now you need to find people, to give you money, right? To finance all this, because you need to hire people which they're on a high salary grade. And what you're going to do, just hire them for 6 months, for 1 year, and then fire them? This is not going to work. Well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't mess with people's lives. So I think this is where Agentic AI might play a very big role in putting together those virtual teams, for making great stuff where you need very, very different areas of expertise. Okay, those are some 2 different thoughts. One a bit, very, very subjective. Actually, both are subjective, but let me know what you think. Maybe other people, they have the same. Maybe I'm not that crazy. Maybe there are other crazier people out there, and they can confirm that I'm not crazy. I hope I'm not. Okay, see you in the next one.